And I'm going to start with just some general updates as I keep letting people into the Zoom room. So just to begin, share my screen. So we had our monthly neighborhood walk on Monday of this week at 11:30. I know a good number of people on this call were able to join us, so thank you all for your time with that. We walked on the west waterfront area from Chad's to just about the corner of State and Cabrillo. We're able to talk to a good number of hoteliers. I'll share just from my experience. I think some of the sentiments I heard were the sense that some of the issues don't seem to be getting better in terms of the individuals experiencing crisis. And what I took away from that is that even though we are seeing this drop in numbers of people experiencing homelessness, I think some of the most either the individuals with the highest mental health or behavioral health need are still very prominent. And so that's one of the issues that we're going to be trying to address is how do we coordinate those behavioral health services in a way that's more effective. But it was really helpful to just be able to talk to business owners. I see Liz Rodriguez join the call. I don't know if you've heard anything since the walk, but I'd also love to hear from anyone else who was there that day about your impressions from the day.
Well, we were only able to visit 4 different businesses, but it was impactful for those 4. And the one business that we didn't end up meeting with the manager or AGM, he sent me an email afterwards and just really thanked the group for taking the effort to talk to businesses and to stop and engage with them. He did mention that he doesn't have folks, because of the way his hotel is situated, they have to come through the front desk in order to get to the property. So he doesn't have a lot of impact that way. But he does notice that there are several people who sleep across the street, and around 6:30, 7 o'clock, they wake up. He said 2 times out of the week, they wake up really agitated and scream. So just, they're just highly agitated. And so I mentioned that the street patrol was going to be doing bicycle patrol in that area. I believe that's what I understood, and specifically look at the early hours. But the other businesses, they were just really, really grateful. So it was only 4, but it was important. And I hope that we can do from State, like the foot of State Street to the railroad tracks soon, because I think they are, especially in the morning, the commute from where they sleep to Upper State Street, it's that Lower State Street area that's highly impacted. So I'm hoping we can schedule that soon.
Thank you, Liz. And we do try to cycle these walks to different impacted regions of the city. So we'll definitely want to circle back to that Lower State Street area. I also just wanted to share, there is an ongoing exhibit at the library. The Cottage Center for Population Health and SBI conducted a photography study where we invited individuals experiencing homelessness to take photos, kind of illustrating their experiences during the pandemic, both good and bad. And there's a really nice display up in one of the display cases at the downtown Central Library location. So we encourage you to check it out. It's there all month. And then the last thing is we have our all-call wrap meeting coming up on Tuesday, the 23rd at noon. And we will be hearing a presentation from the county about the point-in-time count, as well as discussing some of the feedback we've gotten about this cycle of the Act on Homelessness Collaborative and starting to think about next steps there. So we encourage you all to join us if you're available. While we're together too, not to put you on the spot, Barbara, but I'm wondering if you'd be willing to just share briefly about some of the discussions this week around the storage ordinance, just because I know there are questions in the community about it, and it'd be great to just hear from you.
Yeah, happy to touch on that. So the mayor and council on Tuesday moved forward with adopting an ordinance to regulate the storage of personal belongings in public places. And we have the next several months to work with and engage all our community stakeholders to really share and be transparent about the processes and procedures to enforce that ordinance. But really our focus is abatement, right? So we just want to make sure that most of the individuals that are experiencing homelessness specifically do follow the guidelines. We are really looking at being able to address the more problematic areas that have become unsafe or impassable, or areas that have been blocked by public right-of-way, ADA access, and things of that nature. It's really, really important for us to ensure accessibility and safety throughout the city. So that really is the primary purpose and importance of this ordinance. There has been some questions just about the process of if belongings are left unattended for an extended period of time, the noticing procedures, and how individuals can make sure that they reconnect with those items. And again, over the next coming weeks, we'll be able to address this very clearly. There will be multiple processes and pathways for people to be able to access their belongings if they are stored, as well as proactive opportunities for individuals to be able to store their personal belongings that are important and valuable to them. So I just want to make sure that, again, people are hearing that enforcement does not begin right away. The whole purpose was that we have the time to collaborate with all of our stakeholders, be transparent about the process, make sure that we really take into consideration all of the input that we've received, concerns that we've received, and that we're able to address this at multiple levels. But appreciate that we have another tool as city staff to be able to ensure, again, the safety and vibrancy of all of our neighborhoods, which is our top priority. So as said this morning at the special workshop from the Ad Hoc Committee on Homelessness, our job is to ensure that all of our residents' concerns and needs are addressed, housed and unhoused in the city of Santa Barbara. And we will continue to reiterate that at every turn. And we're doing everything we can to work with both individuals that have lived the experience of homelessness, individuals that are currently experiencing homelessness, as well as businesses and residents that have shared concerns with us daily about what they're experiencing, and that we're trying to really manage all of those interests and all of those needs at the same time.
Thanks, Barbara. I'm going to put a link to the full text of the ordinance in the chat, but we also had a question, just if you'd be able to just describe it really simply for people who may not have heard.
Yes, if belongings are left unattended for 4 hours or more, we are able to, as city staff, notice those items. So we can say that these items will be removed, and then after that period of time, that we're able to provide a post-removal notice detailing how those items are being stored, what city department to contact, how to contact them, and the process of being reconnected with those items. So that is on the enforcement side, what we have available. But on the proactive abatement side, we are working to coordinate with CityNet on storage options for individuals, especially that are experiencing homelessness. And if they are open to case management services through CityNet, they have the ability to pursue that and store, again, belongings that are important and valuable to them in an offsite location, and that can be facilitated by that CityNet case manager to be able to access those items. So again, we're looking at multiple pathways. The last thing I'll say is complementary to this effort is that we are still continuing to vet locations for a daytime navigation center, and having a physical facility that's accessible more days than not, right? And at more times than not. Also having storage options available, especially for our important documents, which I think we've all heard for the last several years is really a priority need for our unhoused population, that we're pursuing that simultaneous to this. So I want people to hear that there is education, outreach, information first, abatement at every turn, compassion forward. If we know the individual, if we're familiar with them, we'll do everything we can to make sure that they know what the guidelines are and that they're reconnected with their items. And 3, that we have the ability to enforce when necessary and still be able to facilitate people connecting to their stored belongings after the fact.
Thank you, Barbara. Any other questions?
And Landon, I will say that, the ordinance itself is the government language we all know and love. But really what is helpful, I think, is the council agenda report that accompanies that ordinance as part of the city council agenda packet, which really, again, offers a more in-depth explanation, I would say, of our approach, of the process, and what we're calling kind of the storage program that accompanies the ordinance as well.
Yeah, I should have specified this actually is the council attachment,
Great.
not just the draft ordinance text.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Liz.
I'm curious, would somebody call dispatch or use the encampment reporting link? How would residences and businesses notify somebody?
Yeah,
That is been there for
that's
more
a
than
great
4 hours?
question. I talked to the Sustainability and Resilience Department at a previous meeting this week, and they had suggested just adding the link to the page where people are already reporting both encampments, individuals of concern, and then it can also report unattended belongings. I think that will be a placeholder. As I mentioned to Mayor and Council on Tuesday, the city of Santa Barbara and our IT department is moving forward with a SB Connect constituent relationship management system, which is looking pretty awesome, I will say, and still has some work that needs to be done before we launch it, where all complaints will be able to be shepherded and be able to be triaged and addressed by city staff much more effectively and efficiently, I think, than we've been able to do so far. So in the interim, we'll have that pathway that people are already familiar with, and then we'll be able to transition to something more comprehensive. And of course, there's me and Liz Stotts. So we'll do our best with what we can in the interim as well.
And so since Barbara mentioned it, I'm going to put the reporting link in the chat window. So this particular ordinance is not yet in effect, and it even once it is voted into effect, it will still take another 3 months of education, as Barbara mentioned. But in the meantime, you can still report if you see an individual in need, if you come across an encampment, if you come across illegal dumping. It's all helpful to be reported so we can know where to direct services. All right. Yes, Mayor Rouse.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in that not to keep dumping on Barbara, but until we get everything up to speed, really, she is our main contact point for the distribution of services. And as we coordinate this and eventually get it triaged out, she is the person, and of course Liz as well. But it's to get these, once we get these systems completely coordinated and communicated, so the public at large knows how to deal with these things without having to call 911 for everything, because a lot of people are resistant to do that. But they'll feel like they're being responded to. We'll have CityNet and people out there. So I think once Barbara gets that completely triaged and we get all the salient numbers out there for the general public and all the businesses to have, I think the upgrade in service is going to be fabulous.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. And Barbara put her contact information in the chat window as well. There's a question about whether there's a press release or public communication that can be shared.
There is not, but there will be. And so we've actually already had a few great suggestions about how we can make sure that people are receiving the information, what to do, how to report, as well as individuals being able to be knowledgeable of the new ordinance, its components, and being able to adhere to those guidelines. So Liz has already had her creativity spinning. So I hope everything from kind of the laminated cards to flyers, to designed flyers, they're a little bit more prominent and visible that we'll be able to distribute in the coming weeks. So all of that to come. I will say our protocols across city departments, I will say, is our first priority. Each city department has responded to certain circumstances that happen under their purview, whether it's a park, whether it's the waterfront, whether it's downtown. But really for this ordinance, we want to make sure that we are really ensuring consistency on approach, documentation, reporting, what's stored, the process of reconnecting individuals back with their belongings. So that's first priority, and then we'll be able to be more specific in terms of processes and protocols and more transparent about the process moving forward. So first things first, and we'll be able to share things as they're developed.
Thank you. All right, so we have about 13 or 15 minutes until we need to close the meeting for service providers to talk about the clients themselves, but we want to open it up for anyone from the community to share community concerns you may have or impacted regions. Yes, Mayor Rouse.
Yeah, I addressed the Santa Barbara Real Estate Association today, and we were talking a little bit about the property ordinance and the different plans coming up. And what the point you made before, Landon, about people, people sometimes recognize the numbers are down slightly, but it really is the more intense, the more service resistant people that are here that we're seeing out on the street, the ones that are just the most extreme. And so that does tend to amplify. It just tends to be what people do see. Say, well, how can you say it's getting better? That guy was screaming today or whatever it is. So I think moving forward, our extra coverage from CityNet along with this property ordinance is going to help a lot of these situations a lot. So I know that the chief and Charlie and of course our outreach folks are really trying to get as much coverage as possible, but it's important. Our communication with this is huge. And so going forward, trying to communicate, I know, Liz, if you've got some techniques or methods, or if it's something along the lines of next door or whatever it takes to communicate out, it's important that we keep celebrating these tiny little incremental victories so people know that there is a positive trajectory and not just all negative.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse.
And I think, Landon, we have talked about, even with the downtown ambassadors and CityNet and Good Samaritan and others, we've had a number of just prominent, well-known individuals that were experiencing homelessness in the last year or 2 years that are no longer in the downtown corridor. They've been permanently housed, they've been reunified, relocated, they've had successes at Dignity Moves and beyond. And we want to ensure and respect confidentiality. But I think the case study, references and even just a short paragraph write-up have been so helpful. I will say, Liz, and you can add to this, being added to the text exchange between the downtown ambassadors and CityNet, that Liz and I can interact with the team pretty regularly. And now CityNet is really focused on closing the loop on individuals that are highlighted and brought to our attention. It really is a beautiful thing. It's like we either have instant gratification that someone got a pair of shoes or that someone was able to get into shelter because they were demonstrating interest for the first time, to someone's belongings being able to be stored so that they could go into a treatment center. So I will say that we need to do a much better job. And I know we keep saying this, but I would really like to make a concerted effort in the coming months and year to put this at the highest priority. And I think it does lead to more grueling weeks than others if we feel like we don't have that silver lining, especially for all of our service provider partners that are in this every single day. But Liz, any thoughts on how we can kind of elevate like how beautiful closing the loop can be to get us through each day?
Yeah, this week Dignity Moves had 3 openings because 3 people moved into a more permanent housing opportunity. So that means 3 more people are being looked out for right now to be put into Dignity Move. So that's wonderful. That's great news. I did want to touch in a little bit upon some of the more difficult cases that we all see. I think there's some things that we are all learning as we're doing this work. And I'm sorry, I saw Robin's note. Thank you. We have been learning a little bit more about the process for some of the more difficult individuals. And one of the roles I'm now taking on is advocating heavily for those clients that are the more visible clients that have higher needs, and advocating for them at behavioral wellness or public health, whatever county department that can attract those services, and working with organizations like CityNet and Good Sam to coordinate to make sure that those more difficult cases are getting more attention from those service providers that have the skill set to deal with those higher acuity patients. So hopefully that will lead to more victories that we can celebrate. those are my thoughts. And I'm seeing Robin's note on just on De La Guerra Plaza, and I can tell you without giving names, that CityNet is making, they're incremental, and sometimes that's huge. Just some of those incremental steps forward with some of the people that we are seeing on De La Guerra Plaza. And it takes that consistency, that over and over, that being there sometimes daily, to build that trust for that person to say, yes, I will work with you. So just De La Guerra Plaza is one of those focus areas that CityNet is working on. And yes, 2 people from that were hanging out in De La Guerra Plaza were put at path this week, as Mary pointed out.
And thank you to Robin for bringing that up as well.
Yeah. And I'm making a note of this spot, Robin. The other spots you mentioned.
Thank you, everybody.
And Robin, you're spot on about De La Guerra Plaza. Obviously, I work next to you. So we actually were able to shelter 2 individuals that were in De La Guerra Plaza just in the last few days. So that has made a noticeable improvement, but we do have a few folks that that remain and have demonstrated initial resistance to services, but we will keep on trying.
Great news on the progress. That's wonderful.
Fernando.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to make, can everybody hear me? Okay, cool. Finally fixed my computer. We have even just, I know you guys were saying 2 people got housed from PATH, but even last week we had someone go into Dignity Moves from that area. Just literally 20 minutes ago, I was walking down that area with Jeff Gaddis, and we've seen that as more people move out of those areas, more people come in. It's just kind of the way it is. But it seems that all those people that were there, that one wave, got the help they need and continue to get the help they need. It's just kind of the way it goes sometimes.
We have a reputation at City Hall, apparently, that people who really want support frequent that area to get that support. So that's a good reputation to have, but yes, it also leads to once you help a few folks, then a few more folks come in. So we will keep at it. Thank you, Fernando, to note that.
Anything else from community members?
Hi, Landon. It's Mary from CityNet. I just wanted to, regarding De La Guerra Plaza, there is an individual there that we did try to, assist. He was taken to the sobering center, and unfortunately, due to some things that were on his record, he was discharged. So it's kind of I don't want to say it's frustrating, but it's like we're kind of at a place with this individual as to what is the next step for this individual. You know, he definitely needs detox. He's willing to go to detox. I mean, I got him to go, but unfortunately, because of his record, he was unable to stay. So I guess I'm just kind of wondering how we could best serve this individual.
Mary, I think a few of us know who you're referring to. Let's talk about that in the second half of our meeting. This person has been weighing on my mind too. So I think that we need to approach this a little bit differently than we have in the past.
That sounds good.
Years.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I think it's a helpful illustration of some of the barriers we're up against. So I appreciate that. I'll also note the Union Pacific Railroad and Caltrans have both been doing some significant cleanups along the 101 corridor in the last month. Union Pacific specifically, I think, started this or is starting this coming week. And so we are seeing individuals being displaced from the freeway, but not necessarily having somewhere else to go. So we are anticipating just continuing to see some movement around the city right now. And so we appreciate everyone reporting encampments when you see them so that we know where to send services, because it can be hard to find individuals if we don't know where they moved. Anything else? If not, we'll go ahead and close the meeting for community members.
Landon, I just want to touch briefly. I think I mentioned this during the East Side call, so I'll reiterate it here. I know that sidewalk vending and vendors have been an increasing issue on the downtown corridor and the waterfront. I think some of you know yours truly is now leading a multi-department task force to address this. Commander Katsapis and his team. We have county public health coordinating with us, fires coordinating us with the more egregious violations. And then we will be deploying for education outreach, compliance for the other vendors throughout the city. After we address, again, like I said, the more, I would say, more dangerous violations that we're seeing and the ones that are really, really unsafe. So you'll hear more from me moving forward. But if you have any immediate concerns, questions, any details that I can share about the city's approach and prioritization on this, please let me know and I'm happy to report that out.
Just 500 block after hours, 9 to midnight is about 5 carts are out there pretty regularly, particularly on the weekends. And so it is a pretty significant problem, not only just visibly in what is happening, but I think that it's a distraction in full on a lot of regards. And I think the businesses are pretty upset about it. And I think you all know that. But if I can be part of helping you find solutions and helping kind of mitigate issues and, you know, gathering information or distributing, happy to support with that.
Thank you so much, Robin. I will definitely be following up with you. I think, again, that kind of outdoor restaurant blocking the public right away, open flames, issue that we're seeing on the east side is our first priority. And then the second priority is the vendors that are open flames, grease, you know, the hot dog vendors that are kind of converging after post-event, both at Santa Barbara Bowl as well as Arlington Theater, Granada, downtown, in terms of lower state, like you said, 500 block late at night. So know that is the second priority. I can say, if I can be transparent about that, and then we'll be able to work on educating and reaching out to other vendors that we know we want to be able to do business lawfully and legally in the city. Once we deal with the most egregious and dangerous violators that we have right now. I will follow up with you.
Well, thank you all. I think with that, we will close the meeting for community members so that we can talk about specific strategies for specific individuals. So thank you to everyone for joining us today, and service providers, please stick around.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.